Hey guys, and welcome back to another video of ECK Sports, and today I'm back at it with another video, and this time I have my MLW mid-season power rankings for the 2024 MLW season. I'm going to be ranking all 8 teams 1 through 8 based on how they've done this season, their roster talent, and how I project them moving forward. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off at number 8, I have the Great Lakes Gators. Now, they've played about how I've expected coming into the season, a team that would have a bad record, but would look competitive and would look promising at times. Obviously, their acquisition of Sawyer Bean has been great for them so far, along with Jeremy Adams, who's been a very solid player on both sides of the ball. The real problem here, and the reason why they're last, is that they have the worst offense in the league. While Jeremy has been good, he hasn't been that great. If you're looking at the best hitter from each team and you're ranking them, he's probably the worst. And behind him, you have Sawyer, who's looked okay, and then behind them, you have Chadwick and Cheatham, whose OPSs are in the 600s, and you can't win if you can't score, and I just don't see this team being able to put up runs, especially against elite teams like the D-backs, who they are going to have to play in the second half. Sawyer's a good ace, but there are much better aces like North, Dallas, Crash, Robles that can all go toe-to-toe with him and probably beat Sawyer. I could see them popping off in the second half and going on a surprise run. As of right now, they're going to be at number 8. And coming in at number 7, they've been the surprise of the year so far. It is the Coastal Cobras. Now, while Caden made the All-Star team, to rely on him as your ace I think is pretty foolish, but it's not like they have another option. He had one good game this year, and beside that, in the past, he's been very inaccurate, very inconsistent, and that is just not somebody that you can rely on to be your number 1 pitcher through the rest of the season and the playoffs. And even then, they started Barron game 1 against the D-backs in the IG Live. They might be moving that direction, and Barron this year has been absolutely terrible. Now, while he's been bad in the pitching, he's been pretty good with the bat. I personally think Barron making the All-Star games of hitters, one of the funniest things that's happened in MLW in a long time. You got Andy coming back. He's been one of the best bats in the league. Asher's look great. Drew's look pretty good. Surprisingly, Flynn is like their 5th best hitter right now, and he was their best hitter last year. So this is a great offense. But my best example of why a great offense with no pitching can't win is Cobras Magic game 1 of this year. Andy had 3 hits. Barron hit a home run. Drew hit a home run. But they still lost 6-3 because their pitching is absolutely terrible. Barron could not throw strikes. Caden has had trouble throwing strikes in the past too, and it's not like their stuff is very hard to hit either. So I just don't see this team doing very well in the second half, and that is why they are at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is the Metro Magic. Now, they have fallen off a lot since last year, as they were the World Series champs last year, were the best team in the league, and this year just not even close to that, which I feel like a lot of people saw coming, because outside of Grant Miller, they have absolutely nothing in that batting lineup, and we saw what Robles did. He walked Miller every time and was able to throw 2 no-hitters against them, and currently both Ackerman and Agner don't have hits. Curdy's looked okay, Bonham's looked okay. These are not guys that really fear you. The Magic pitching has also declined heavily. Their pitching duo was probably the best in the league last year. Dallas and Blade were really good too, but I think the Magic was the best. However, as I predicted, RJ and Trevor have both fallen off dramatically. Now, it looks like Miller might be that number 2 arm, and he did look pretty good in his first start, so, if he gets some more reps there, I'm sure he'll do much better. I think the Magic just are not in a good spot right now, but the reason why they are above the Cobras and the Gators is because they do have RJ and Grant, and we know what they are capable of, and they just went to the World Series last year. And coming in at number 5 is the Western Wildcats. Now, a lot of people expected them to be one of the best teams in the league this year, and they have not lived up to that. And it really doesn't make sense, because if you look at it on paper, you'd think they'd be great. And overall, their hitting has been pretty good. Their big issue has been their pitching. I know it looks like Pat's been really good this year, but in reality, his ERA is pretty close to 4, and their second pitching with Pearson just has not cut it so far. I would not be surprised if Kyle gets some pitching reps in the second half. Maybe see Ty out there. The biggest loss for this team is the loss of Nick Saylor. But even without Saylor, this team is still good. Like, their hitting depth is really good. You got Kyle's hitting great. JP's always been a good bat. LJ's doing his stuff. I just think that they haven't quite found their stride yet with their new guys. It would be the most Wildcats type thing to just absolutely fall off in the second half. I still think that they have a chance, and they are better than the other teams that were ranked before them, and that is why I have them at number 5. And coming in at number 4 is the Midwest Mallards. Now, the Mallards are 5-4, but they don't really feel 5-4 because Jordan Robles has pretty much carried carry this team on his back. Beside him in the lineup, Jorge has not been great. Tommy's been the worst hitter in the league this year, and Colm has looked pretty lost in the box. They've tried Carlington out a little bit. Nothing's really clicked there. And Colm has looked pretty good on the mound, but all of their wins this year have been 1-0. And if it wasn't for Jordan Robles having probably the best pitching season of all time, beside maybe Dan Schultz 2019, this team would not be in a good position. And when they face teams like the Eagles in the playoffs who have seen Robles and they've hit Robles well, and it's not like Robles has really added any crazy new stuff. These are the same pitches that we've seen from him. I don't really think the Mallards can keep this up, especially with their horrible offense, which I know the Gators offense is bad, the Magic offense is bad, but Mallards offense might be worse. So they're going to be here at number 4, but they could easily be lower on this list. Coming in at number 3 is the Pacific Predators. Now, the Preds have kind of had a weird season. Crash has been great on both sides of the ball. We've seen flashes from Rudy, who had 2 bombs in the Gators series. You got Russell, who can hit the ball. Ward has been pretty solid this year, but again, similar to Crash, hasn't hit a single, so I don't know what's up with that. But the big issue is the same issue that we've been talking about with this team for the last 2 years. 2022 had a strong team, but they didn't have a second pitcher. 2023 was the same thing, and I feel like we're seeing the same thing in 2024. I mean, Crash has been 6-0 this year. He's been fantastic, but they just do not have a second pitcher. And we always talk about how Crash will get them enough wins in the regular season to where they can make the playoffs, and then in the playoffs, Crash can pitch every game. But the reality is, and we've seen it the last 2 years, you need to diversify your look in the playoffs. The Eagles did it last year, the Magic did it last year, and it worked for both of those teams. Even the D-backs in 2022 a little bit. With the way that Levi's been pitching, McGlade didn't look too great. I don't think the Preds can trust a number 2 arm in the playoffs, and I'm worried that it's going to be the same story as 2022 and 2023. That is why they are here at 3. And coming in at number 2 is really close between these top 2 teams, but it is the Eastern Eagles. Now, I think the Eagles might be better than the Diamondbacks, but I feel like I had to put the Diamondbacks higher right now just because they just beat the Eagles in the series. But the Eagles' top 3 of Dan, Landon, and Dallas have been elite this year. Dallas had a little slow start on the hitting, but he seemed to have picked it up. Landon's been elite this year. Dan's looked really good. And on the pitching side, even though Blade hasn't been there a lot, Dallas has been fantastic as we expected, and Dan has looked pretty good as the number 2 arm. However, I am questioning how long that will last because his stuff still looks pretty hittable. But as long as they have that top 3 of Landon, Dan, and Dallas, it'll be completely fine. And this team is going to be a top World Series contender. And coming in at number 1 is the Downtown Diamondbacks. Now, this team is capable of doing things that I don't think any other team is capable of doing. After they lost 10-0 in Game 1, they were down 1-0 until pretty much the end of Game 2. They came back in Game 2 and won Game 3 by a landslide. This is just the D-back way. And there is no other team that can do it like them, in my opinion. You got Trey, who's pitching great. Jimmy, he did have a little bit of a rough game, but it's still Jimmy. He's one of the best guys in the league. And while the statistics may not look great for a guy like Pish or Jonah or even Casey, I know that these guys can hit. I think Jonah can really turn it on in the second half. Same with Pishka. And obviously you got Norp, who's still one of the best hitters in the league. So this D-backs team is going to keep rolling, and that is why I have him at number 1. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.